Welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Securities offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Advisory services offered through the Retirement Guys Formula. Registered investment advisor. America's Retirement Headquarters, America's Medicare Associates, and the Retirement Guys Formula are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Hope you're having a great day out there. We want to thank you so much for joining us and spending part of that day here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and myself. My name is Chris Vaughn. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. If you want to reach out, find out more about the team at America's Retirement Headquarters. You can also go to the website, arhq.com. And once again, that phone number, 419-794-3030. Today on the show, we're going to give you a way to hopefully better understand this economy. If you're thinking about switching financial advisors, how to make that transition go smoothly, and how to bridge the income gap and retirement. All this and more. But first, let me check in with the founder of America's Retirement Headquarters. Nolan, glad to be with you as always. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Beautiful weather we finally have here in Northwest Ohio. It's like summer is kind of here. It's camping season. It's sit out back by the fire pit season, and going to be a good, enjoyable summer. So hopefully everybody's having a good time out there and spending a lot of time at graduation parties. So congratulations to all our local graduates.
Definitely. Congratulations to them. And, you mentioned the summer, and even though I'm a long ways away from it, it always reminds me of my time at camp, as you mentioned. But summer camp with the Boy Scouts, the number one motto of the Boy Scouts, or the motto of the Boy Scouts, of course, is be prepared. That's what we want you to do out there when you enter into retirement, as you approach retirement. Be prepared for what may come down the line, even if we can't necessarily control it, or it's something that we don't really know. Case in point, there's this little thing called the election coming up later on this year. And of course, by voting, that is something you can control. But this presidential contest between Biden and Trump, expected to be close. And depending on how the congressional races pan out, the stage could be set for a flurry of changes that might impact people in or nearing retirement. Nolan, I have to wonder, as a financial advisor, you're bound to hear anxiety from clients. How do you keep them focused logically, not necessarily for what's coming up in November, but for the bigger picture, all the years in retirement?
Well, I'd say in many situations, it's to try to focus again on the long term and not pay attention to the short term worries that you have. On any given day that I get up and I go in and I take a look at the market news that day, there can be an article that talks about how today's going to be the best day ever to be invested, and the markets are going to rally between now and election time. And, I can come back from lunch and there's another article that talks about how today's the worst day ever, and, there's going to be chaos and catastrophes in Wall Street. And so, from an investor, that anxiety really can cause you to make some emotional decisions that can be costly decisions. One of the key things to focus on is to really try to focus on what you can control and avoid those emotional decisions on what you can't control. I had talked about it a little bit in the past, but I had a gentleman that came in from one of our public events that we were doing, one of our workshops. And what he did is about, a year and a half, 2 years ago, had moved all of his money to cash and just said that until this administration's over with, I'm just going to park it in cash and wait till the election's over. Looking back over the last 2 years, that was an emotional decision. That was a painful financial decision because, here we are at the markets at record high. And if we go back to the economic summit that I hosted in February, what I had told people is, historically speaking, an election year is usually a positive year in the markets. And when you look at it, it makes a lot of sense. The current administration who's in, they want to do everything they possibly can to have the economy appear to be in a healthy position so people get them reelected. Then the other party who's running, wants to talk about how they're going to make changes to make America great again, to bring things back. And in many of those situations, it oftentimes why it leads to a market rally. Now, it's early in the year. It's only June 2024. But as of now, what we have is we have the markets at all-time record highs. So what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to too much anxiety about the stock market short term, but going to the philosophy of investing, which is buy low, sell high, regardless of the outcome of the election. What I want you to think about is right now the stock market is at record highs. So what you want to do is you want to put a downside risk management system in place with the markets at record highs. again, the markets are at record highs. I hope they keep moving higher. The reality is, though, at some point, whether it's the election, a terrorist attack, a war overseas, something unexpected is going to happen that's going to turn the market in the opposite direction. So while things are going good, now's the time that you want to do that. Speaking to graduates and kids finishing up school, when I was back in school, in fact, when we were kind of little, we used to have these, safety drills, whether it was a tornado safety drill, or you had mentioned Boy Scouts a little bit. Mm-hmm. I remember one of the merit badges I did as a Cub Scout, and it was to go home and I had to write out my fire safety drill, and my family had to practice it.
Yeah.
I think about that, and if we think about that in context of the stock market, what I want you to do as an investor is I want you to run the fire safety drill. The reason that they had us practice the fire safety drill is we knew what the exit strategy was. We knew what we were going to do, where we were going to meet up. So the goal of that is to help you avoid panicking. And in this case, to help you avoid panicking when the stock market catches on fire. It will catch on fire. It's just a matter of knowing what the exit strategy is. And when we look at the statistics that are out there, with the average investor consistently underperforming, it's oftentimes, in my opinion, because they make those emotional decisions. So by knowing what you own, knowing the level of risk that you're taking, and knowing what your downside risk management system is, that is going to allow you to not make an emotional decision, not, wait until the elections are over or jump out when the market starts to go bad. And these are all things that we include in what is called our retirement team action plan. If you're worried about the elections, if you just have general anxiety about your retirement, the solution is the retirement team action plan that we put together for you. What we can do is we can take all of your data, we can put it into our software, and we can create an independent portfolio analysis for you. Within that independent portfolio analysis, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to show you what your risk level is, not just in terms of conservative, moderate, or aggressive. We'll be able to drill it down and show you within about a 95% probability of success what the range of returns could be in your portfolio between now and the election time. We'll also show you that if the market had another major downturn like it did in 2008, what the maximum drawdown is within your portfolio. And then when you look at those numbers, if those are numbers that give you anxiety or numbers that you don't feel comfortable with, then what we'll do is we'll talk to you about how we can incorporate the downside risk management system that we have. With downside risk management system, we have options and strategies that are available where, one, we can take some of the winnings off the table and draw a line in the sand to take a portion of the money and protect it from, market losses altogether. You can do that with things like money market accounts. You could do that things with fixed or indexed annuities. Those type of investments that are non-market risk investments can be a way to kind of protect some of the things that you have. The second thing that we can do is we can talk to you about some of our investment strategies that we have within the market that have what I would refer to as circuit breaker technology. So whether it's iron retirement, which we review on a weekly basis and determine whether we want to lean in or out of the market based upon technical indicators, or things like our Kings or ISER growth portfolio, these are strategies that have clear exit strategies in place. And when you're looking at your investments and you're thinking, I'm not sure what would happen, with my current investment plan if the market got bad, or, you're close to or in retirement time, and the dreaded answer that you hear back is, well, don't worry about it because over the long term it'll work out. That strategy may not make sense for those folks that are close to or in retirement time. That's why we want to be talking about incorporating a downside risk management system. Again, let us help you run that fire safety drill. And the way that we can do that is you give our office a call and say, guys, what we want is we want that retirement team action plan, and we'll provide you that written summary of recommendations and show you specific steps on how to help reduce that anxiety, because this is retirement. This is what it's been all about. It's about getting out there and enjoying, again, those campfires, the barbecues, the summer fun. And if the markets are something that's keeping you up at night, I think that's an area that we can absolutely help you with.
Again, hopefully adding a little bit of relief in what could be a stressful time. There's a lot out there, a lot of uncertainty. Being able to control what you can control All starts with getting that retirement team action plan. The phone number to reach out, get started, 419-794-3030. The phrase side hustle is ingrained in our vocabulary these days when you make extra money outside of your main job. And there's a college student at Brown University who's found an interesting way to earn extra income. Alex Eisler makes reservations at high-demand restaurants and then auctions them off online, fetching up to sometimes $1,300+ per table. Questionable business practices aside, it does shine the light on the importance of income. If somebody's guaranteed income sources, be it Social Security, a pension, what have you, won't be enough to provide stable revenue in retirement, how do you guys help bridge that income gap?
Well, I guess when you stop and you think about bridging the gap, that's an area where I've got three good pointers on it for. But, hey, props to the college student and props to anybody who's willing to go out there and do some side hustle. Like, even talking the other day about my younger son, Carter, his first side hustle was picking strawberries. And now the strawberry season is here. I remember him going out to Stevens Gardens and greatly appreciate them as well for giving Carter a job when he was just a young kid at that time going out. When we're going back and we're taking a look at, sources of what's called guaranteed income, in this case, Social Security and pensions, and it's not enough to provide that stable revenue in retirement. The bridge is an area that our company really specializes in. I know there's a ton of great financial professionals that are out there, but not all of them are retirement income planners. And, that's really what we do here. When we look at it, I think there's three areas to focus on. Number one is the gap between retirement and when you transition onto Medicare. The second is the gap between retirement and turning on your Social Security income. And the third is the gap in reliable income and the minimum monthly income needs that a family needs for the rest of their lifetime. These are three gaps that you want to take a focus on and look at that retirement income bridge, because the bridge is what's going to get you through that gap. So in the first gap that you have, that gap between retirement time and Medicare. So if you're going to retire, let's say at the age of 62, the area that you need to focus on is affordable health care. When you look at the healthcare cost, if you're going to go on healthcare.gov, how healthcare.gov works is it's an income, not an asset test. So what your family's reportable income is going to determine the amount of your monthly premiums that you pay for health insurance. And what you have is there needs to be some smart decisions that are made there before retirement time to figure out how do you bridge that gap. In essence, what you want to do is you want to try to shift money from what's called a countable category to an uncountable category. That could be doing things like a Roth conversion, which for affordable healthcare may not be a countable income source. And you'd want to do that, before you retire so it doesn't show up in that year that you need to collect healthcare coverage. So figuring out kind of that gap. The second gap that you want to take a look at is the gap of when to take Social Security. An overwhelming majority of people, I think according to the Social Security government's website, roughly 70% of people select taking Social Security before their full retirement age. And for most retirees today, that's age 66. By selecting and starting Social Security early, what you're in essence doing is you're locking in a lifetime reduction of benefits. And those reduction of benefits may have a negative impact on not only you, but also your surviving spouse. In many situations, we talk about Social Security optimizations, and in running hundreds of reports, oftentimes, what it looks at is it looks at delaying collecting Social Security at least till full retirement age, and in some situations, delaying it until age 70. So if you're going to retire at the age 62 and the Social Security optimization strategy says don't, collect Social Security at age 70, then you have that 8-year gap of how to figure it out. We do a lot of different presentations. We've got some great presentations coming up here locally. You can see those on arhq.com, our website. But when we talk about the topic of Social Security, I can remember this guy walking up to me at one of the events that we were doing. He said, look, Nolan, you talk about age 70 being, possibly the optimal strategy of when to collect Social Security. But what you don't get is I'm not working until age 70. I'm going to retire. And so I don't want to work till age 70. And so what I had talked to him about is I said, look, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to work till age 70 to collect Social Security. But if you are going to retire early, what you need to do is you need to figure out how you're going to bridge that gap, meaning that tapping your IRAs or your 401ks, it could mathematically make sense to draw other income sources in those early years to bridge the gap to get you to a situation where Social Security is optimized. And, a lot of the reasons why Social Security optimization is important is withdrawals from retirement accounts like 401ks, IRAs, or 457 plans. Those withdrawals are 100% taxable, where Social Security can be anywhere from 0% taxable to the maximum only up to 85% taxable. So Social Security can be a more tax efficient plan, and by delaying the benefits and making the benefits larger by delaying them, it can make that even better to optimize the overall Social Security. The third category is the gap in reliable income and minimum monthly income needs. We did a presentation here recently, and we had some folks that had come in from that event. And one of the things that had kept the wife up at night was the reality of looking at what her family's minimum monthly income needs are. So when you factor in your food, your housing, your utilities, your medical, your living expenses, so what it takes to run your family, in my opinion, you want to have those minimum monthly income sources covered from those guaranteed sources. Again, Social Security and pensions are two common ones. But the way that you can also bridge that gap is annuities are a vehicle that can be used to provide income. And, there's good and there's bad annuities, and annuities can be a confusing topic, but essentially annuities are a vehicle that has been used for hundreds of years to pull lives together to evaluate income sources and provide more predictable income. And if your concern is outliving your income, having a more reliable income source and having a source that helps bridge that gap on what your minimum monthly income needs are and what your reliable income sources are, an annuity can be a way to help fill that gap and bridge that as well. So, when you're looking at the retirement income brackets and trying to address those, being that we're retirement specialists and this is what we focus on, those are three areas that we can help you with. Again, helping you bridge the gap between retirement time and Medicare and keeping your healthcare costs affordable. Number two is bridging the gap between retirement and when may be an optimal time to turn on your Social Security benefits. And number three, making sure that you have enough reliable income to maintain your minimum monthly household income needs. And so if those are areas that you are questioning, how do I bridge that gap? That is what we do.
If you have concerns about how to bridge these income gaps, you haven't thought about it yet, it's as real easy as reaching out. The team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help you. 419-794-3030 is the phone number, and the website, arhq.com. Now, we just earlier spoke about the gap between retirement and Medicare, and a new survey shows that most Americans don't expect to work beyond their early 60s. They were looking at giving up their full-time paycheck at 62, and Yahoo Finance's Carrie Hannon thinks, well, that's a terrible idea.
Unless you absolutely can't continue working because of a physical issue or you can't get a job because of ageism. And that's very real. But, it's a bad idea because in a sense that they have medical bills. If you leave at 62, you still have to foot your medical bills until 65 when Medicare kicks in. And even then, Medicare doesn't cover a lot of things. People are mistaken there. So I think people don't factor in some of these things like inflation and then, of course, longevity. We are living longer lives.
These factors, if somebody comes into the office saying the only thing holding them back from retiring early is actually their health care coverage, what would be your advice to them?
I think that is a common concern. In fact, one of the presentations that we have going on right now in Northwest Ohio is discussing the issues of healthcare. And really, when you look at healthcare, there's three phases. So the first phase is looking at your healthcare cost pre-65, navigating the Affordable Health Care Act. Number two is transitioning into Medicare, understanding the difference between, a Medicare Advantage or a supplemental plan, figuring out, what are the gaps in the coverages and what are the out-of-pocket maximums. And the third is the issue of, addressing long-term care because your Medicare and or traditional health insurance is not going to cover a nursing home stay. So we do have a several different events that are coming up here in Northwest Ohio. If you go to arhq.com, and if healthcare costs are the area that's holding you back, I would encourage you to come out there. We're going to give you a couple of specific strategies. Giving an example, I just went on to the healthcare.gov website. And if you haven't gone on there before, I'd encourage you. It's got a wealth of information, but, luckily being that I'm insurance licensed, luckily that we have, Scott here at the office running our America's Medicare Associates, this is an area that we can navigate maybe a little bit faster than somebody who's not familiar with the website. And what I was doing is I was looking at different scenarios to help you, our listeners, have an understanding what the affordable healthcare looks like for different levels of income. The first thing that you need to understand is you need to understand affordable healthcare is an income, not an asset test. So it doesn't matter how big your 401k or your personal investment savings are. What's going to count is the number that you end up with on your tax return is going to determine what your countable income is. And when you go onto the calculator, what you're going to do is you're going to type in some information inside of there. The goal to keep affordable healthcare costs down is to know where your levels need to be and know what the differences are. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to have your income to be low enough that you don't fall into Medicaid and get into that healthcare system, but you want to have it low enough that it keeps it affordable as well. Using an example here, what I did is I looked at a husband and wife age 62. These numbers are as of June 3rd, 2024 when I ran them. What we had is a $45,000 a year income for a couple. The lowest premium, if they picked the lowest premium plan, was $0 out of pocket per month. It did have an $8,999 deductible and an $18,800 out-of-pocket maximum. So we oftentimes will run into healthy couples that haven't really had, much major health issues that have gone on. Their goal is, maybe retire at 62, make it to 65. And if they have no health insurance, and using this example, if they keep their income to a countable level of $45,000, then what that means is that according to the website right now, their premium is $0 for health insurance. And unless they have some type of emergency come up, where they're going to pay that deductible or that out-of-pocket maximum, then they're going to be in pretty good shape to be able to, be confident about what their retirement needs are. And the way that we do this and the way that we've helped out a couple of different people, again, is knowing when to draw Social Security. So Social Security is a countable income source. So delaying Social Security may work out better so you don't have it show up as a countable income source. The second thing is many retirees think, well, I retire, I'm just going to go ahead and start taking money out of my 401k or IRA. Those are countable income sources. So again, those numbers are going to work against you to determine what your healthcare cost is. Things like your personal savings that are outside of retirement accounts, spending those assets in those early years are not countable sources. Things like Roth IRAs, there can be other, vehicles that you can use to pull income to keep your income down a little bit. So again, you maybe want to have a little bit of Social Security, maybe have a little bit of withdrawals from traditional retirement accounts, but using that $45,000 example, a married couple age 62 can have $0 out-of-pocket costs under affordable health care. Now, if we bump that level up to $100,000 a year, and $100,000 a year, the premium goes to $357.68 a month, and the deductible goes up to $15,000. The out-of-pocket stays the same at $18,800. So that's $4,292 a year in cost, plus the deductible goes up by another $6,000 if coverage is needed. All in all, a family could be out of pocket by over $10,000. Again, simply by not knowing how to take withdrawals out of the accounts. Third is, I looked at an example of somebody having an income of $200,000. This might be an example of somebody wanted to pay off their mortgage, maybe sold a business, sold some extra real estate. That premium goes up to $1,066 per month, $15,000 deductible, and $18,800. So as you can see, the numbers make a big, big deal. And so don't let affordable health insurance scare you. Just know how to navigate the system. And if you are worried and want to know how to navigate healthcare before age 65, transitioning onto Medicare at 65, and or protecting your assets from long-term care, give our office a call. We'll provide you a couple of solutions and ideas and help you navigate to minimize your healthcare expenses.
This is one of those situations where what you don't know may actually hurt you, especially when it comes to your pocketbooks. Take the time, figure it out, and maybe it works out where you can go ahead and the one thing that's holding you back from retiring, healthcare, is actually more manageable than you thought, but you don't know until you have that conversation with someone like the team at America's Retirement Headquarters. ARHQ.com is the website. Set up a time there, find out more about the team, or you can give a call, 419-794-3030. Now, you might start out with a financial advisor, but decide for one reason or another, there's a need to change to another. Among the more common reasons why, your current advisor could in fact be retiring themselves, maybe their fees are too high, your portfolio's performance isn't as strong as you like, or you want comprehensive guidance that covers more areas like long-term care or tax planning, things like that. We get it. The thought of changing advisors can be intimidating, but Nolan, if someone is thinking of choosing you guys, do you do the heavy lifting to make the transition smoother for them?
We really do. And I would say roughly half of the people that come into the office and meet with us already are working with a financial advisor. So actually, great job. I think working with a financial professional is one of the ways to kind of get you ahead of trying to do it yourself. So I like the fact that you're working with an advisor. But as you pointed out, Chris, it's, probably one of these reasons that it's time to kind of shop out for somebody new. Advisors are retiring. There's a lot of people, in my business that are looking to retire. Some of the fees and expenses that are in the industry today are outrageous, and people are looking for ways to lower the costs down. With the markets at record high, maybe not feeling like you're getting enough, or the comprehensive plan, I think, is one of the areas that people really like here. I hear it all the time that people like to come in and work with America's Retirement Headquarters because it's one location that have everything taken care of for them. And, we're looking at it and giving them advice on our retirement team action plan. And the team stands for taxes, estate planning, asset protection, and money management. So I get it, but you're wondering, how do you make a smooth transition between financial advisors? What I would give you advice and suggestions on is, first of all, ask for the financial professional's background. Everybody has a different background of experience. In fact, my background is I got licensed a month after I turned 18 years old. And so over the past 30 plus years, I've been in the industry. I have a college degree, but I think there's a lot to be said about life's experiences. I've been through the crash of 3 years of 2000. I've been through 2008 when the market chopped out half of the value for stock market investors. I've been through COVID. So a lot of those experiences and knowledge, I think you learn by being in the industry today. And as somebody who has a couple of employees that are younger, Connor, Andrew, they bring a wealth of knowledge, energy, and technology, which complement that in having a great team approach, which I think is also important to work with an organization that is a team focused effort, because, one guy and an office receptionist does make it kind of difficult to be kind of comprehensive. So asking about the background, asking a little bit about their team, understanding how their team works together. There's other organizations in town that have multiple financial advisors, but, I oftentimes hear that it's a closed door type of environment where they're all actually competing against each other, where our licensed financial advisors are commonly working on cases together to bring in area of expertise in different categories. The investment philosophy, I think, is important. When I ask you, describe to me your current investment advisor's methodology and philosophy of when and how to pick investments, it's important that you can be able to articulate exactly what that means. Now, I'm not saying that you need to understand standard deviations and alphas and betas, but understanding the methodology, right, of how things are put together. Our philosophy is called the independent income system. If you haven't reviewed our investment philosophy, you can simply Google independent income system. We walk you through the different threats and opportunities that we traditionally face. We show you how to help you better manage your money, protect your hard-earned assets, and efficiently plan your estate. Even taking that a step further, though, when you look at the investment philosophy of how we pick, say, stocks, when we're adding stocks to a portfolio, companies that are cash rich, low debt, high profit margins, needed on a daily basis, and or have a competitive advantage, now you clearly understand why an investment is in your portfolio. I can't tell you the amount of times that people have walked out of my office and said, I really appreciate you explaining it to me in terms that I finally understand. I now truly actually understand the purpose of what my accounts are designed to do. And so if you don't understand the investment portfolio that you have, my concern about that is you tend to be the investor that may make an emotional decision. So when the markets go down, could be the type of investor that panics and sells and gets out because they feel like, they're going to lose it all or they got to stop the bleeding. But knowing that investment philosophy, knowing the process and knowing the plan can help you stay more committed in the long run, especially when you're looking to switch advisors, because we want this to be the long run for you. If you choose us or another organization, we want to be the last financial firm that you ever have to work with. In addition to that, anybody can talk the talk, but do they walk the walk? And by that, I mean, you want to ask for 5 references. Not only do you want to ask for those 5 references, I'd encourage you to call those references. You can ask about the experiences, understanding of the plan. How is their communication with you regarding market conditions and keeping you up to date? How often do they get together with you and sit down and review your portfolio? I'd also encourage you to maybe consider asking for references of professionals that they work with. If they're working with an attorney or a CPA, call that attorney CPA. Ask about, how the relationship is, how they're involved in the planning of the process. There's many different decisions that go into what you do with your investments are going to impact your taxes. So it's important to me that I think you have the accountant and the financial professional on the same page, making a group decision about what could be right and looking at the pros and cons. I know one of our CPAs that we work with, Ron, is a fantastic CPA, but we don't always see eye to eye on tax situations, and that's where it's nice that we can then have that conversation about the pros and cons on the way that we see it. And that way, when we go back to the client, we've got the best solution for what we think is right in their individual situations. Google the company, find out what information, anything is on the internet today. And, with Google, if you type in the name of the company, I would encourage you to type in our company name, America's Retirement Headquarters in Google. Read our Google reviews and find out, what clients have to say about us on the internet. You want to ask about how they get paid. Now, this has become better. I would say more people that come into the office are asking this question about explain to me your compensation, how you get paid. So I'm glad to see more people are feeling comfortable, but I think everybody should feel comfortable asking that question. This is your life savings. Nobody works for free, and we don't either. So if they're not, getting paid from the sale of financial products, understanding how are they getting compensated for, is it assets under management? And if they don't charge fees or don't get paid commissions, how are they making sure that their advice is in your best interest? Are they acting as a fiduciary in that type of transaction? Ask what tools they use to help in the retirement planning process. Again, I have the gray hair, 30 years of experience. I bring, I think, that industry knowledge. And I think some of the things that the younger kids bring, and I really shouldn't call them kids, college degree professionals, but these younger college professionals, they have a lot of the ability to use some of the amazing tools that are out there. And if we think about the tools and technology that's available today in the financial services industry, it's dramatically better than the tools and resources that I had when I was a college graduate. In the good old days, I'd have to look in the Toledo Blade and find the closing price of a stock, or, I'd have to read a 400-page prospectus to find different fees and expenses. And today, with the internet, we can get access to that information pretty quickly. And by doing that, what we can do is we can optimize the portfolio together. And using these tools, what we can do is show the probability of success. And then within the tools, by making a couple of changes, it could be maybe optimizing the investments. It could be, taking a little less money in retirement time. It could be adjusting what the retirement withdrawal strategy is and hitting the refresh button. These tools that are available for the retirement planning process can instantly show the results, allowing you as an investor to make a more educated decision instead of based upon gut, based upon looking at the numbers that are available. So we're really big into trying to utilize the technology to stack the deck of cards in favor of our clients. The thought of changing the advisor, as you talked about, Chris, it can be intimidating. But when you know it, it's time, right? If you feel that in your gut, you're probably time to start interviewing another financial professional. What we would love to do is we'd love to have you come in. We'll sit down. The first meeting is we're going to talk 45 minutes an hour just about your goals and objectives. There's no cost. There's no commitment. If it makes sense after that 45 minutes an hour, what we're going to do at complimentary is we're going to put together a retirement team action plan. So we're going to gather the information that we talked about in that first meeting, maybe some of your financial documents. We're going to provide you the written summary of recommendations in the retirement team action plan. We're going to show you the areas that we believe are concerns that you want to try to reduce and or eliminate. And we'll also show you the areas where we think you can take it up a notch. Within that plan, we're going to detail any type of cost that's associated with it. That way, either you and your spouse, you have something in writing. You can go home and make a decision on which of any of those items that you want to do before you have any type of financial commitment. So the retirement team action plan is something that is complimentary. Again, we do that for our listeners. You just have to call the office to get that retirement team action plan, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that transition is really smooth, moving between one company and another. It's something that we do on a very regular basis.
That first conversation, as Nolan pointed out, they're going to take about an hour of your time or so. Complimentary could be some of the most valuable time you spend on the way towards your retirement, especially if you're trying to, switch from that transition, that accumulation period into that distribution period into retirement and knowing all the moving parts in it. But it all starts with that phone call. Set up a time to speak with them. Complimentary, 419-794-3030. You can also go to the website to find out more about them, find out more about the independent income system and the retirement team action plan, arhq.com. This is a topic where I do not want the spotlight turned and shined on me. Can you pull your car into the garage, or is it full of stuff? A new survey by Black & Decker found more than a third of Americans say their garage is so cluttered it blocks any vehicle from entering, and nearly 2 in 3 call their garage the junkiest space in their house. Now, similarly, a retirement plan can also become cluttered. What can you guys do to help out?
Well, we're going to give you specific action items on how to clutter out your financial plan. But I would say, when you look at your garage, it can be easy. And I actually get kind of a double whammy effect, because not only do I have a garage at home, I have a garage here at our office that is also a common place for storage. So, we get clutter in our financial plan all the time. I remember somebody who recently came into the office, a husband and wife, and she had changed jobs over the course of her lifetime a couple different times and just never really did anything with her old 401k plan. So she had, one here and one there and one kind of everywhere, and also had a new plan where she was working today. And, the husband's concern was, I don't know if these are good or bad or where they are. It just feels like it's a big cluttered mess. And I would agree, when you have things all spread out all over the fact, it can be kind of chaotic, and chaos only creates stress. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to create a one-page financial inventory. When you come in and see us and we put together the retirement team action plan, we're going to create this one-page financial inventory. And it's nice to have it on one page, because on one page, you can see all the key information that you need to know about your financial plan. You're going to see things like your investment assets, a summary of your insurances, what your reliable income sources are, what your investment risk level is, and range of returns. That is nice to see it all kind of summarized together. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use software to determine where there could be some inefficiencies in your portfolio. There could be 2 different ways that we can figure out inefficiencies in your portfolio. Number one is through the investment allocation. When we look at investment allocation, what we're looking at is, the difference between large, medium, small, international stocks, bonds, large, medium, small, and what that asset allocation is. With the software, what we're able to do is we're able to put all of the holdings that you have, and whether it's one account or 5 accounts, it'll then give us the analytical data that shows what your portfolio level is in terms of risk. And we measure risk anywhere from 0 to 100, with 0 being the lowest risk. So the first thing is you want to make sure that your risk lines up with who you are as an investor. Mm-hmm. And while the markets are at a record high, now's the good time to know, what your risk level is. The next thing is the software is going to give you a grade point average, a GPA score. And, here, just kind of finishing up the school season, a lot of people who have either college or high school kids are familiar with a GPA score, but your goal here is to get a 4.0. That'd be all A's. In fact, the software can go as high as 4.3. So 4.3 means all A's and you're taking, some honors classes. In the portfolio analysis, we can look at each individual account, and then we can look at all the accounts combined together as a whole. This is going to allow us to determine if any portfolio is inefficient or if the portfolio put together as a whole is inefficient. So if you have a GPA score of, say, 3.7, that is not necessarily a bad GPA score. And oftentimes when I'm reviewing portfolios, I have people that come in here that in the first time of meeting together with us providing them a retirement team action plan, they have a good portfolio. So our plan is to take that clutter and go from good to great. Try to get that GPA score up as high as possible to 4.3. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the software to determine the probability of success of you being able to achieve the outcomes that you're looking for, specifically to meet your lifetime retirement income goals. The software, it'll measure the probability of success anywhere from 0 to 100, and it's going to look at, roughly 3,000 different scenarios of what could happen between now and the end of life. And that could be things like, well, what if the stock market crashes tomorrow? What if the stock market crashes right at retirement time? What if tax rates go up by 20%? What if your Social Security benefits go down by 20%? What if inflation stays high? And when we start to look at all of these scenarios, what it's going to show us is it's going to show us the number of times in the outcomes that it reached the end goal. So, not running out of money. And your goal is to get that number as high as possible. If we run the numbers and we run the analysis and it says, 75% of the time you hit the end zone, that's great. That's a good start, But it's not, as high as it could be. I believe that when we do this and we're looking at cleaning the clutter out of the plan, what we want to do is we want to try to get that score into the 90 plus percentile range. Oftentimes, if I see a plan that says 100% of the time it's going to work out, now I don't know that 100% of anything's guaranteed in life. So what we want to try to do is get that number over to 90%. Now you've got something that you can watch and keep track of, and that'll be another way to help identify what that clutter is. The third thing that you want to do is as you go through this exercise, you want to take a pad of paper and you want to begin to write down the observations. The observations are going to be things that come out when you do the one-page financial inventory. They're going to be things that when you stress test your plan and or when you run the analysis and the inefficiencies, writing down those observations on potential threats and or opportunities will now give you a sheet that you can go down in a checklist items of where to accomplish that. So by getting a second opinion or getting a second set of eyes to look at it, I bet there's a lot of clutter that we can identify in your plan and areas that we can take it up a notch. So how we can do this for those of you that want to get somebody that can kind of take a look at this, help you clean up that clutter and find out what it is, give our office a call. We'll put together that retirement team action plan. We'll create the one-page financial inventory. We'll do the portfolio optimization scorecard for you. And we'll provide you a written summary of our observations and that retirement team action plan. That's what we do, and that's what we do right here at America's Retirement Headquarters.
Being able to have an objective approach when it comes to your retirement plan or your financial plan as it stands and finding ways to streamline it objectively, the team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help with that. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. You can also go to the website and schedule a time to speak with them as well, arhq.com. Rest in peace to Bill Walton, the Basketball Hall of Famer, recently passed away from cancer at the age of 71. Several years ago, we actually had a chance to sit down and speak with him about his late father, and he admitted that he had let him down twice.
When we started having children, I'm William Theodore Walton III. My dad is the second. He never asked for anything. But then one day my dad said, hey, you're having children. Would you please name one of them William Theodore Walton IV? And I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't mature enough to know how serious that ask was. So I let him down that time. And then at the end of his life, I was in charge, and he was going downhill, and he was in and out of the hospital all the time. And then one day he looked at me and reached out his hand, and he said, Bill, I don't want to die in the hospital. I want to die at home here. Passed away in the hospital. Yeah, and I was there for that too.
Now, regrets, they're, useless once somebody passes. Can you guys structure an estate plan so that wishes are carried out so that the surviving family is left without those regrets?
Absolutely, we can do our best to try to help out. And, we have seen, obviously, and probably our listeners have seen families be ripped apart, when somebody passes away within the family. And in fact, on the flip end of the scale, you can see the issues that a lot of our celebrities face, even with like Elvis Presley's daughter and what she, with her passing away and is the issues going on with her estate. Prince, we've talked about that in the past, and, other famous people, not having a proper estate plan is a good way to destroy a family. What an estate plan can do for your family's financial future is a ton of things. First advice that I would give you is work with an attorney who specializes in estate planning. I'm not an attorney, I'm a retirement income specialist, but working with hundreds of families over the course of my lifetime, and unfortunately, either personally having family members who've passed away, some with some planning and some with not, I can see, the big benefits. And what I would say is, number one, the big benefit is clear communication can help reduce and eliminate disputes. So for anything, if you do it just to eliminate, the possibility of disputes by having what your wishes are clearly communicated in your estate plan, that in itself is worth taking the time to put your estate plans together. Number two is it can help minimize taxes. So things like, how you own an account, maybe whether an account is owned within a trust, whether accounts that are owned jointly, or whether, having accounts that are listed as paid on death. Certain taxable accounts get different tax treatments based upon, what's called stepped up basis, as does real estate. So knowing how things are owned can be a positive. Probate avoidance, probate is a process to get assets from your name to somebody else's name, and it can be a costly and a lengthy and public process. So to avoid the expenses and the time delay of probate is while you go through doing your estate planning to try to take steps to minimize, the wasted time and delay and costs of probate expenses. You can have some protections for a beneficiary. I had minors. My kids are now, both mostly grown, but, when they were young, having some language inside of there that, heaven forbid, something happened to mom and dad, addressing what that issue was of who was going to raise our minor children was important to us. Reducing the stress of a crisis when somebody is incapacitated, not having the power of attorney and the correct legal documents, and you're going to leave your child or your spouse in a real tough situation if they need that legal document. Keeping your information private, and there's ways to, through estate planning, you can keep it private. And last is peace of mind. So what we can do for you is, if you are thinking about, what can your estate plans do for you and how do you get started, give our office a call. What we can do is we can send you a copy of the Ultimate Estate Planning Checklist. That Ultimate Estate Planning Checklist is going to be the first step of getting it in the right direction. And as a listener to our show, we'd be happy to get you a copy of that.
To reach out, to just give a call, 419-794-3030. As you're approaching retirement, you want to make sure you have, all your T's crossed, all your I's dotted. And that doesn't include getting to retirement, but through retirement and beyond that as well, making sure that, hopefully your plans are executed the way you want them to be, and that, your family is left without those regrets. The Ultimate Estate Planning Checklist Guide can help with that, certainly. 419-794-3030 to receive your complimentary copy. You can also go to the website and request it there, arhq.com. We want to thank you, as we always do, for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. We have a great week ahead of you. Hope you stay safe out there. Enjoy some of this lovely summer weather we've had. Nolan, as always, grateful for your time. And as we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with the final word.
I'd say just remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters. It's home of the Retirement Gigs Formula and America's Medicare Associates.
America's Retirement Headquarters is located at 1700 Woodlands Drive in Maumee, Ohio. You can reach them by calling 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Nolan Baker is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstance. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Nolan Baker, Ohio Insurance License Number 27787.